Oh, hello, Commissioners. Gary, you're here.
Yeah, I'm leaving after like 3 minutes and we take attendance, then I'll be back.
Okay. All right, well then let me call to order this regular meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission for Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. Jay, would you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Vice Chair Armstrong,
Present.
Commissioner Lesniak,
Present.
Commissioner Favreau,
Here.
Commissioner Newkirk,
Here.
Chair Pritchard.
Here.
We have quorum.
All right, very good. Then moving on to acceptance of the agenda. I have one change under item number G3, the proposal for crawler from Brian Campbell. I want to table that to the November meeting. I've talked to Ryan. He's working with a couple of different fabricators to get a better bid on the whole construction of the piece. So we don't have the numbers in place that we like yet. So we'll hear that in November. Does anyone else have any changes to the agenda? All right, then will someone take motion to accept the agenda, please?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
And I'll second that.
It would
All
be
in
as
favor?
amended. As amended, Commissioners. Okay.
As amended, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll move on to public comments. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned to each speaker. Jay, do we have members of the public wishing to address?
Yes, Human Rights Commissioner Edwin Romeron, and I see we have Paisley Ramstead also has her hand up. Why don't you go on, Edwin?
Oh, good afternoon, Public Arts Commissioner and Chair Pritchard, Vice Chair Armstrong, and Commissioners Favreau, Lesniak, and Newkirk. How are you all doing? My name is Edwin Ramoran, and I currently serve on the city's Human Rights Commission. And
Edwin, would you spell your name for the record, please?
Sure. That's spelled R as in Robert, A, M as in Mark, O, R as in Robert, A, N as in Nancy. I also serve on the Equity and Social Justice Committee, which I'm really proud of. Thank you, Vice Chair Armstrong, for your presentation last week to the Human Rights Commission, and looking forward to working together in our capacity as commissioners. I'm here to make public comments as a community organizer and resident of District 1, and a spokesperson for 2 community-based projects planned for Veterans Tract and what is called the Demuth Park neighborhood. The general request is for you to add these 2 projects to the agenda next month for consideration and updates. Firstly, on behalf of Bayanihan Desert, we are excited to be celebrating October every year as Filipino American History Month. Thank you for supporting our Philippine X American Community Mural project with Palm Springs artist Adam Lebuen Garcia since its inception. We are at an exciting stage following a series of intergenerational community engagements and dialogues, and we'll present our progress report, including visuals of the proposed mural for the Demuth Community Center. I was born and raised in Palm Springs, and this project remains a wonderful way to build a bridge to the Filipino enclave, its legacy, and multi-generational families in the immediate neighborhood, and the overall cultural history and social history of the Coachella Valley. Secondly, I have the honor of introducing the plans to premiere a new art festival in observance of the Global World Art Day on April 15th of next year, 2023. Led by Shan Carr, who's here on the call on Zoom, Demuth Park will participate in this international event with a homegrown festival called World Art Night at the park. This will be a grand opportunity to celebrate the cultural diversity of Coachella Valley's arts in all forms, including visual, music, dance, spoken word, and any creative arts that integrate darkness and light. The project will forward a letter of interest for community representative to the Commission for the Art is Everywhere grant and request for support. With this as a great way to engage the largest, most utilized park in the city, which has been continuously underserved in the areas of arts and cultural programming and engagement, there are numerous ways to extend the Public Arts Commission's successful signature programs of Art is Everywhere and the Main Street Public bench art public public Palm Springs Art Bench program. My text is really weird right now. Into Demuth Park with newly commissioned painted benches and picnic tables. These new works will be unveiled and celebrated at a nighttime gallery alongside and complement the already existing site-specific works in Demuth Park by Gerald Clark and James Jared Taylor III, and bench environments by Benjamin Berti and Travis Davis on the evening of World Art Night. Thank you for your time and consideration. We hope you will include both projects in next month's agenda. Have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Russell, I have a question. When was World Art Night? The date?
Sorry, my phone is. Sorry, what is your question, Matthew?
Date is
When
April
was he
15th.
planning World Art Night?
April 15th is World Art Day.
Okay,
And then we're gonna do it. We're planning a night event on World Art Day.
okay, thank you.
All right, and Jay, we have a second member of the public for comment.
Yes. Paisley?
Hi, just want to say I really love the work that you guys do as a lifelong resident of Palm Springs and somebody who has dabbled in art myself. I am really proud to be from a place that has so much public art. I currently work as the staff biologist and executive assistant for Oswett Land Trust. And as some of you may know, we have the recently acquired Prescott Preserve. So I am just speaking tonight to sort of make a formal introduction and say that we are really looking forward to hopefully partnering with the Public Art Commission as we move forward in the planning of our preserve. We would love to see some large scale art by local artists in our preserve. We're hoping to do some large murals, and we're also very open to ideas that the commission might have or other public artists or artists who work in large scale or small scale might have to bring to us to hopefully install at the preserve either on a permanent or as a rotating temporary seasonal basis. So I just wanted to pop in the meeting tonight, introduce myself, and say that I love the work you guys are doing, and I really hope that we can all work together for some public art in the preserve in the future.
Oh, fantastic. So will you share your information with Jay so he can send it out to the commissioners and we can sort of dialogue with how we could help in the future?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah, perfect. And Jay, do we have any other public comments?
I do not see any other requests for public comment.
Okay, and I'll close public comment and move on to remarks from the chair. Has our vice chair left?
Vice chair's left.
Okay, all right. So just briefly, I want to sort of a couple of things. Hopefully everyone saw the terrific article in the Desert Sun today about art at the airport, written by Janet Wilson. Is Janet on our meeting, Jay? She thought that she might be able to zoom in.
No,
No?
possibly at
Are you?
the airport commission meeting.
Oh, that could be, yes.
No.
Yeah, because she did a very good story. She was happened to be writing a story on art in airports basically around the country and reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. So it coincided very appropriately with our offers of the gifts of the 2 art installations at the airport. So it's a terrific article. If you haven't read it, go online or pick up today's Desert Sun. It's a great article and talks about a little bit about upcoming projects and the excitement of art in Palm Springs. So, and then hopefully Gary will report back soon that the Art Commission goes along with our acceptance of these gifts for the airport. And then we will have queuing up for council soon, the WOW installation that hopefully will decide on a location tonight. Popsicles, asphalt art are 3 projects that we basically have all of the approval and price in place from us. So we'll go to council for their approval, which is great. Wanted to mention that I've been in touch with the gallery that represents Christopher Meyer and with the gallery director who is in charge of his artwork. We're going to start a conversation in November. One member of the gallery is away this month, so we'll start the dialogue about what they wish to do with horses. I proposed the idea that they might want to gift them to the city of Palm Springs. So that's something that we'll take up in November. We also have lined up a meeting with Adam Lerner, the executive director of our Palm Springs Modern Art Museum. And with Vice Chair Armstrong, we'll do a tour of the artwork at the airport, hopefully on Monday, October the 31st, so we can move forward with looking at the collection there and making some changes in that. So there are a few exciting things going on with that. And then I just wanted to briefly talk about or mention how our funds come into our account through development funds, both commercial and residential. And all of these developers are not allowed to dictate, or a neighborhood that's the development is in cannot dictate where the funds are spent unless the developer wants to commission a piece of art within their development that would have public access. If it's outside 18 hours a day, or if it's inside their complex 12 hours a day, and the funds cannot be used for landscaping unless it's integral to an actual art installation that they would be commissioning. So, because we've had some discussion back and forth with the Crossley neighborhood and the Lumen development, where Crossley neighborhood thought that they could sort of have that developer direct their money specifically to their neighborhood. That can't be done unless the developer, as I said, commissions a very specific piece of art. Then they can come back to us and request the funds equivalent to what they've paid into as a refund for the purchase of their art piece. So just wanted to sort of make that clarification so that we all are on the same page with that when we talk to various neighborhoods. All right, so that's all that I wanted to do on my report. So let's move on to item F, public hearing. So we'll open the public hearing under consideration of resolution 22-001. Mural A, resolution of the Public Arts Commission, the City of Palm Springs, California, approving an after-the-fact art mural application for Sophia's Transformation from Via Panera Soledad LLC by artist Pressa Hall, located on the east parking lot facing elevation of the perimeter wall at 1491 South Via Soledad. So Jay, just for point of reference, the applicant has made good on all of their permit process, their permit fees, and all steps of the application.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Mr. Chair, as you noted, the mural has already been installed, so this is an after the fact, a request for an after the fact approval.
Mhm.
And as you also know, there was one individual who provided public comments. I just want to confirm that you all received those. They are in the record.
Good.
And so with that, I would just add the applicant is committing to doing maintenance on a yearly basis.
Good.
And if approved, a maintenance covenant will be recorded on the property requiring them to do that maintenance. So that is also part of the approval process. And should this mural be approved by the Public Arts Commission for artistic merit, it would then go before the city council for their approval.
Jay, do we have any members of the public wishing to make public comment on during the hearing?
Let's ask any members of the public, if you wish to make a comment, please raise your hand or let us know. Does not appear so.
Okay, yeah, I would certainly have noted the opposition from the property owner nearby, Mark Coleman. But I've gone by the mural a couple of times, and I actually find it very good, strong artistic merit. I like how it's sort of inset within sort of a shrubbery perimeter. It does face a parking lot, so of course during certain times it will be partially obscured by cars. When I went over recently, I don't know, Jay, if you want to pull up that photo that I sent to you, there was just one car on the parking lot. But of course, for us being the Arts Commission, seeing art rather than a wall or a shrub is a good thing. There is absolutely no commercial connotation to this mural. It's simply a fleet of dancing figures going across a very well executed wall. So I find it very strong with artistic merit. So my push would that we should move to a motion to approve this mural. Do any of the other commissioners have any thoughts or comments?
I do have some comments about this. If I can proceed, can I proceed?
Well, yes, please.
Okay. I did go into the neighborhood. My concern is it's a residential neighborhood. There is also another wall adjacent to this that's very long that goes to the end of the other intersection. And because it's in a residential neighborhood, my concern is what kind of precedent could we be setting for other neighborhoods? Also just in accepting this after the fact, after it's already been done, because it states here in one of the documents that it says here, elements of the exterior mural need to be considerate of locals in the design process. My understanding is, based on the letter we received, that no locals were involved. They weren't consulted. But my concern is approving something after the fact, specifically when it's involved in a residential community, because this does face residents. It doesn't face a business, it faces residents. And I have concerns about that. So just based on that, I have nothing. I'm not opposed to the mural. I'm concerned about approving something after the fact when it is located in a residential setting, when community members have not been involved.
All right, well, I'll make a couple of comments to that. I, for one, am all for as many murals as we can have around town. And there are actually examples of people's residences that have painted their perimeter wall, which technically is sort of a mural, but it's their retaining wall. So it's that sort of gray area. And a lot of applicants or people who do murals are not aware of the mural process, and it's up to the city to do that. We are not the mural police. So that's why the city has not issued any warnings or any citations to this property owner. They did come forward when they realized that they had to do the application process and the notification of the neighbors. They did their due diligence and they did that. Only one person voiced any opposition to it. So I would take that to mean that most of the other neighbors either don't care or they like it. I think it's aesthetically very pleasing, and for one, would like to see more murals all over the town, whether it's and this is sort of a mixed residential. This is a small apartment complex. There are some single families, so it's a mixed variety of residential. So,
Commissioners, I would add, this is a public hearing. It is part of the public process. And notices were sent to residences within a 500-foot radius,
Right.
which is how we received the comments. And I would also add a second public meeting, not necessarily public hearing, will occur when this is considered by the city council.
yeah, so people will have that opportunity also to voice any strong opposition they might have. So, any other commissioners, comments or thoughts?
Yes, I'm also a little worried about the precedents. Was this mural done by the property owner that the art commission had nothing to do with it?
Correct.
Okay, so in accepting this mural, if this person that doesn't want it up is persistent, what kind of fuel do they have to stop it or get it painted over? Because it's on this person's private property, correct?
Correct. As Jay just mentioned, if this person who can name is Mark Coleman, who is the person who has voiced opposition, if he is adamant about taking his voice louder and whatever, you can go to the city council meeting, which is because they have the final approval. We are approving the artistic merit of the mural, not the legality of it, not the process of it, but the artistic merit.
Thank you for making that clear, because I think that should be on record. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think my only comment is not really about the mural itself, because I agree. I think it's rather beautiful in that location. But I think the city could do more to publicize the mural approval process. I was just looking online and did a quick search, and it's very difficult to find an explanation of what that process is. The city does have some information on its websites that is the application and a link to the ordinance itself, but that's not the easiest thing to understand. So I don't know, Jay, like if we could work with someone at the city to create like a mural information page on the city website that sort of step-by-step goes through the process, I'd be happy to help with that.
We can definitely do that.
Yeah. And we can also, as we get more control and access to our own website and hopefully a social media person, we can have that information on the Arts Commission website, which we have independently. And because most people don't really know about it. They think it's their wall, they can do whatever they want, but it's a public view thing, so.
I have another question. Why did the vice chair have to excuse themselves? Because do they live in this area or?
No, Vice Chair Armstrong is at the Airport Commission meeting right now.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there was no correlation with that, like why he had to step away, because visually on Zoom, it looked a little, so I just wanted to get that clarity out also.
Oh, yes, we knew that he was stepping away to do the presentation for the two gifts to the Airport Commission. Right. Okay, if there are no more comments, then I would like to make a motion that we pass resolution 22.001 MUR, a resolution of the Public Arts Commission of the City of Palm Springs, California, approving an after-the-fact art mural application for Sophia's transformation from Via Onera Soledad LLC by artist Pressel Hall, located on the east parking lot facing wall, or parking lot facing elevation of the perimeter wall at 1491 South Via Soledad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr.
Public,
Chair, if we could have you close the public hearing, thank you. And
Yes.
why don't I do a roll call vote just to make sure I got everybody
Okay.
correctly? Chair Pritchard,
yes,
Chair, Commissioner Newkirk,
Yes.
Commissioner Lesniak,
I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Favo,
Yes.
And Commissioner Armstrong has not returned.
Oh, quick question. Just a second, Jay. I have just one more clarity thing before I say yes, because I might have to abstain because it does correlate with something else. And Commissioner Armstrong's coming on, so I'm not sure if he needs to vote or not. But my question is, with this precedent of after the fact, I know that Russell and the rest of the commission want more murals up. And by approving this, we're kind of setting that precedence. And I know that Commissioner Barrett wants to make those rules clear so people can access that information better. What do we have in place in order to get that information out there? Because I don't want this to continually happen because the community is also upset about another mural that was put up.
All right,
Well,
let me
first
just
of all-
make, sorry, let me just make a, sorry. Let me just make a comment to that. We have approved a couple of after the fact murals in the past. I've been on the commission for 5.5 years, and the last after the fact mural before this one that we approved was probably at least 3 to 4 years ago.
It wasn't the police commission one?
It's the police commission one.
Oh, that one. Well, that was.
Correct. So this has been done before,
Yeah.
Commissioner Favo, and the way the mural ordinance was written, in fact, gives some time for someone who's violated the ordinance to apply for and get approval of their mural without penalty. So you have about 45 days to do that.
Okay, perfect. That's the information I definitely want to get on record that people know. So when they come back to this meeting, it's been said out loud. Thank you.
So we were in the middle of the vote, and Commissioner Favo would like to record your vote on this matter.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Armstrong has just joined, and this is we had discussion on this, Commissioner Armstrong, and perhaps to recap, there were some concerns about public outreach and the process and notifying the public. This is actually part of the public outreach process as a public hearing. Another public discussion opportunity will be at the city council meeting when this is considered for approval. And Chair Pritchard has also pointed out that the Arts Commission is acting more so on the artistic merit of the mural as opposed to process or procedure.
So you're asking for my vote?
Yes, if you're comfortable voting on this, I think that's fine. If you've seen the public comments that were submitted.
Yeah. My feeling is much like, and this was following your direction, Jay, when we voted on the police mural. You know, I was quite upset that the mural had started and it was highly present and it was on a private building with the police mural. And you, at that point, when we had a special meeting, pointed out specifically that our role as the Public Arts Commission is to judge it solely on its artistic merits. It is not on its whether or not they followed the rules. That is planning, and that's planning's responsibility to penalize them if they felt that they needed to be penalized in any way. I think the mural is a nice mural. Again, the rule of thumb I would use is if it came to us and they'd followed the rules according to the permit process, would we approve it? And I would say, yes, I would approve it. It's not our responsibility to police the community. That's the Planning Commission, and that's the staff in City Hall. You know, we're a volunteer commission that advises City Hall.
And although we're wrapping up our vote and about to close this public hearing, I want to go on record to say that in regards to the police officer's mural, this was done by people who knew what the rules were. and chose to ignore them.
Oh.
And at the time, I tried to take issue with this at city and got nowhere because of who they were. So another thing for the record. All right, so we have finished the vote, Jay.
Yes, and Commissioner Armstrong, I'm getting an abstention from you. Is that correct?
You're muted.
I was just in the airport commission with 20 people talking. I would support this, as I said, and I think that any penalization needs to come from the planning commission, not the arts commission.
Right, exactly.
Okay, commissioners, this is approved by a vote of 4 with 1 abstention. And I would note this would have passed with the vote of 3, which is a majority of the Public Arts Commission.
Right,
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Jay. All right, we'll move on to item G, items for discussion / approval. Number 1, discuss relocating intersecting cubes by Brian Boydell. Not quite sure how to say his last name. Located at North Palm Canyon near Tamarisk to the square pad on the east side of the Desert Art Center. That was one site that I've proposed. I believe Commissioner Lesniak has a couple of other ideas. And I have one other one to throw out as a possibility. So I think what we should do is mention what the locations are, allow for all of the commissioners to visit the sites, and if we can, by consensus, agree that we do want to relocate intersecting cubes, that we would actually decide on where it would go in our November meeting. Because the one additional location that has been presented to me today would be the Arenas District, which on November the 3rd is going to get a proclamation from the city declaring the Arenas neighborhood or Arenas block as a very specific neighborhood of the city, with signage and an official ceremony at 11 a.m. on November 3rd. And one of the active merchants of the neighborhood, Dean Levine, who owns Black Book and Tryst, reached out to me today saying that they're very excited about this new proclamation by the city, recognizing their neighborhood as a very specific district of the city. And he would very much like to see more art come to his neighborhood, and specifically mention the northeast corner of Arenas and Acelia, which is basically directly across the street from where we have the rainbow totem installed, because there are a couple of empty lots which are Indian land, native land, and he would like to see that intersection activated with more public art. So that would be another location that I would throw into a location that we should consider. So Commissioner Lesniak, did you want to mention the ones that you are proposing?
Yeah, I can go over here. It's in the PDF that I set out. Location number 1 is on Palm Canyon in the area of Baristo. There's 4 new restaurants opening in that area. It's called, I guess it's called the Financial District, because B of A was there, Chase is there, and several banks were there. And I just walked around that area, and the one photo here, they're very small because I didn't want to send out like 4 pages of photos. This particular photo here is adjacent to the Architectural Museum, but more in front of the grocery store. But I know that there's 4 new restaurants opening in that area. And people are mentioning that. The second location, when I was driving around.
Matthew, can I interrupt you for just on that location? Is there an area, because I drive by there all of the time, but is there a spot that the intersecting cubes could be closer to the Architectural Design Museum as opposed to the discount food store?
There's another, actually. This is actually, the one photo here is, it's actually adjacent to the architectural museum, but it's sort of to the side of it. The other one is actually at the, I think it's the intersection of Baristo and Palm Canyon. It's a large sidewalk and literally the museum, it's on the corner.
Mhm.
I have that photo in my phone and I can send it to you later on.
Yeah, because personally, when we were looking at that area, I would like to see it closer to the museum as opposed to the discount food store which gets a lot of people hanging out.
They also have a sort of a planted area at the entranceway to the parking lot of the museum, but I'm assuming we would have to have permission to put the intersecting cubes there, which is a possibility.
Well, although we wouldn't want it on any planted area that's going to get water. And we want it to be on public sidewalk away from any sprinklers.
I can send you the photo of the other location. The second location is on the north end of town. I saw this building and I thought right away, I thought of intersecting cubes. It would be a great location because the angles are very much the same. Again, it would be on a public sidewalk. The first location, there's more room because it's on a corner. The second photo, it's more confined. The sidewalk area is smaller. But that's on the north end.
And which, from your PDF, I've got item 1, Talkwitz median. Item 2.
Location 2, North Palm Canyon near Vistacino.
Oh, I see there. Okay.
And again, it's an historic building, architecturally significant, but when I saw it, I thought the angles I thought that intersecting cubes would complement the angles of the building.
Yeah. Yeah, just my opinion, knowing that corner, because I used to live on West Vistacino, right off of Palm Canyon. And right now, I don't know what the city has planned. Traffic stop is now a blinking red light. It's a very congested, very busy neighborhood or corner intersection. Because of these locations, I would be more inclined to go to the Architectural and Design Museum.
Okay.
So just in general consensus, because we have realized that intersecting cubes is really buried where it is now. So shall we go with my thought of generally, excuse me, agreeing that we should relocate it and put on our November agenda to approve what location it would, to give all of the commissioners a chance to check out all of these various sites that we proposed?
I would agree with that. And I will also add, I really like some of Matthew's suggestions. Again, we just went through this very strenuous process with the John Clement squiggles. And, they are dominant in the architecture around them, and they are not able to sort of breathe properly. And I found they impacted a lot of the architecture that they were near as well. And I think that intersecting cubes is such a defined, elegant looking piece. We need to be aware of the background of where it's going to be. I'm inclined to support something like the Architectural Museum, something like that with really interesting shapes behind it, rather than just using it to fill space, because I do like the piece. So I agree with your suggestion, Russell and Matthew. Let's everybody examine and then come back and vote next month.
Yeah, and what I'll do between now and our next meeting, I'll reach out to Adam at the museum, because the Architectural Design Museum is part of the Palm Springs Modern Art Museum.
Yeah.
And get their thoughts on placement, and I'll scope out the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are generally in agreement that intersecting cubes does need to be moved. So we'll do our due diligence, scope out the sites, and put it on the agenda for November.
Mm-hmm.
I second the motion.
But it wasn't really a motion, but all in favor? We'll just say aye and move on.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then continuing with Matthew, let's move on to item number 2, Crossley Art Installation.
This is actually very simple. And do not look at the pedestals here, just look at the concept of 1 or 2 people. Initially, I had proposed just Lawrence Crossley, because he is known as being a very successful entrepreneur here when he came here from New Orleans in the early 1920s. However, he didn't just come alone. He later sent for his wife within months, Martha Crossley. And when I started reading more about Martha Crossley, she, like him, were the only two people of color that were invited into the Agua Caliente tribal procedures. The other people were not invited in. They were invited in. She also, too, supported him and was, I have it written down here, and was implemental in his success. So I'm thinking, why am I just recognizing him? We should also recognize her as being the first Black woman in the Coachella Valley. She was important to his success. So I'm just bringing that to you to get your ideas before I pursue it. I would like to have, however it appears, a recognition of both Lawrence and Martha.
Yeah.
So I can put it out there for
I-
discussion.
Yeah, I agree with you strongly on this point, because it goes back to the old saying, behind every strong man is a stronger woman. And to recognize these as a very prominent African-American couple in Palm Springs who were very successful, I think it's a very good idea to pursue. And then my only other comment was, as I mentioned before, just keeping in mind that we would like to make an art installation that represents them well, but in a very modern way. Any other?
I've marked that down several times, Russell.
Thank you. I'll keep repeating myself, don't worry. So, any other thoughts? Or we'll just wait for Matthew to come up with a, and as I did with, I sent over the brief for Ryan Campbell's crawlers, which is tabled to our next meeting. If we can, before a meeting, when we have something on the agenda, write out the who, what, where, why, and when, sort of background, as well as a direction for artist selection, whether it's going to be a call for artists, or if you have an artist that you have in mind, just so that we have as much information as we can when we hit a discussion point and can make informed decisions and informed discussion. Right?
I think I just have one comment on the Crossley project, and that is whether it's one person or two person and whatever style it's in. I just hope that the neighbors and the residents there are part of the process there, so that it's not bestowed on them from us, and that they're actually, involved in the input from early on.
Well, yeah, because part of this is for Matthew to define where this installation is actually going to be. And that, of course, if it's in their neighborhood, then the neighborhood association needs to be involved with this discussion.
I've also actually reached out to, on several occasions, to the Black History Organization.
Right. Well, great. Continue on, and we'll look forward to more information. And if you
I
have
have a question.
Yep.
When you say in a modern way, can you go on record clarifying what that means?
Well, let's see, how would I define modern? Something as opposed to a traditional replication of a bronze mural, or bronze bust, pardon me, of which we have several in the city, bronze figures. Because the city of Palm Springs has become and is a very forward-thinking city. Younger age demographic appreciates modern art. We have a spectacular modern art museum, and we just need to present art in a modern direction.
Thank you.
I mean, that doesn't really define it, but modern, just anything but a bronze bust, please, basically. All right, so let's move along. We've tabled item number 3, moving on to item number 4, approved relocation of WOW by artist Madabi, that was Michael Bernberg, from South Indian Canyon at Arenas to the art pad at 101 North Palm Canyon in front of Ernest Coffee which will be vacated by the John Clement piece entitled Butch, as soon as he is gone. And I don't know if any of you listened to the city council meeting on Monday where they approved moving all of the John Clement pieces to Demuth Park. One council member specifically asked if we had plans for art to go in the locations where the Clement pieces were leaving. We, of course, are not concerned about the location of the Regal Cinema because it's private property, and we're more in tune with putting our public art on city-owned property and replacing something fairly quickly rather than leaving it sit empty. So that's one of the pushes I have for putting WOW on the art pad in front of Ernest Coffee. We have a letter of approval by the owner of Ernest Coffee that he would love to have it positioned there. The artist is pleased to relocate it to that location, and it gets the installation off private property and onto city property. So that is my proposal. Comments or thoughts?
I'll be the first to go.
All right.
I really like this piece. It's never been a question of not liking this piece. I do question putting it mounted onto like a large pedestal. My concern is that the function of the shadow of the WOW will not be able to be seen. It might be sort of disoriented because it's up high. And people won't be able, it's for me, this is like an Instagrammable piece of art where people want to step behind it and, you know, have a photo taken. And I'm not sure that having it mounted, I think almost like maybe about 20 to 24 inches off the ground is going to allow that. So I would actually like to try to figure out a different place that maybe could do more justice to the piece, because again, I like the piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought.
All right. Commissioner Newkirk, do you have any thoughts?
I was a little concerned just about like maybe a mismatch in the size of the pedestal and the piece itself. Like even from like the mock-up that Matthew provided, it feels like a little small for that location. So I'm a little hesitant to approve it outright without sort of understanding the dimensions of it a little bit more and maybe wanting to take a look at the site again.
Well, just specific to the actual location, I don't know what Matthew's rendering should be. My proposal is that the piece would be on a diagonal on the pedestal, and Commissioner Armstrong can weigh in this with his comments, whether he's in favor or not.
Yeah.
Because I like the simplicity of WOW being placed here, because there are large palm trees that also have gigantic planters around them and the traffic lights. So there is a lot going on here. So if we were to find another piece or commission a piece for this, I think it would need to have a similar sort of simple presentation for the, and granted the pedestal for the John Clement piece is massive, but short of demolishing it, and which we could do, and putting WOW on the sidewalk, but the pedestal's there. So to me, it's a quick fix. And I want to point out that the piece itself, WOW, is extremely easy to move. So we could do this as a temporary spot, but I'm just anxious for us to sort of tie up the loose end of get this piece purchased, which we've already approved, and get it to council so that it can get off private property onto city property. And then if a year from now we decide it's not just right, because we've got many other things sort of in the pipeline that we want us to focus on, like the Talkwitz pillars. I think this is something we could just get done and be finished with.
I'm going to jump in. I'm hesitant to stick art where we have an open spot. I think we need to ensure that everything is framed properly. I do think that this spot is very delicate. I thought the existing pieces there now overwhelms the location, and there's a lot of clutter with the street lamp there and the crosswalk and the bike rack and everything. On one hand, I think by having a minimized piece of artwork there will fit nicely. And I think what make it interesting is, as Russell suggested, maybe put it at an angle and maybe don't put it exactly in the center. And then it becomes a little bit of a bench that people can sit on. You know, it is outside of a coffee shop, so you could have people sort of sitting there and waiting. Maybe there's a component where we do some sort of artwork on the actual piece of the cement. You know, maybe there's some sort of paint component to it. I'm not sure. Maybe we ask the artist to do something. But I think it's, as I said, let's re-envision how we're positioning this. Let's just not stick it there, maybe move it so it's back a third closer to the street on an angle, so it gets the afternoon sun shining through it. And then it becomes this nice sitting area by the, as I said, outside of a coffee shop, which I think sort of makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I was hesitant, just like, yeah, it is big. It is a big thing. So let's utilize it. Let's make it a platform for people, the best artwork that you have, because then you get the people sitting in front of it with wow behind them. And that to me is your Instagrammable.
Cool, thank you. All right, well then, if I may, being this is my proposal, I would like to make a motion that we really relocate WOW by artist Madavi Michael Bergberg from South Indian Canyon at Arenas to the art pad at 1101 North Palm Canyon in front of Ernest Coffee. Anyone care to second the motion?
Second.
And Jay, do you want to do roll call or ayes?
Why don't we do a roll call?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Commissioner Favreau,
I'm going to abstain because I'm looking for the information and this picture that you all talking about, and I don't have it. I've looked through all the packets and everything that you sent me, so taking in consideration what my other commissioners have said, I would like to look at this a little bit more closely. What Russell is proposing, I think it's a good idea, but I can't see it, nor do I have the information to say for sure. Abstain.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Lesniak,
I'm going to abstain also because I want to look at the site again.
Commissioner Newkirk,
Yes.
Chair Pritchard.
Yes.
Motion passes. 3 ayes, 2 abstentions.
Right.
And Jay, please note that the piece will have a very specific location when it's mounted, and we'll ensure that that's visualized when it goes to city council.
And I'm kind of seeing this as an experiment with the location, but if it works really well and it's popular, then maybe it's a permanent.
Well, and again, you know, Baird, I'm a big believer that we can have pieces in our permanent collection that are not in a permanent location.
Sure.
Yes. As we're determining with the John Clement pieces, intersecting cubes.
Yeah.
Move it around, it becomes a new piece of art that people have never seen where it was before.
And Jay, can you send me that information that Commissioner Pritchett sent out about this? Because I don't know if it got lost in all the emails or whatnot, but I would like to see this.
Matthew, was this the package you emailed out?
Yeah, it was. I had sent it. I think. Yeah, it was. It's item number 4 at the very end.
But in that picture though, Matthew, you didn't have it placed in front of Ernest Coffee, did you?
Pardon?
You did not have it placed in front of Ernest Coffee?
No, this is the site. The problem is that I had in doing this is that the original piece is so large that I had to block out the entire area. So I could only move the background where it's at now onto the actual piece.
All right,
So
well
that's
then if we made it,
step
because we've already voted on this and passed it.
Yeah.
Shonda, if you're not in town and cannot go by for a physical look at it, Matthew, perhaps you can try to Photoshop it again and send it to Jay.
I can send her photos. I have a bunch of photos. Yeah.
All right.
Forgive me, is it already in the location or are we talking
No.
about moving it to the location?
The vote was to move it from Palm Canyon, or
Right.
Indian Canyon to Palm Canyon.
To in front of Ernest Coffee.
Correct, and
Okay.
we've just approved the move.
Okay, yes, I'm on the same page with you now, and I found it at the bottom of his, the way this email came in, it clipped the bottom of it off.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right, let's move on to H project updates. So Commissioner Fabo, you want to update us on utility box project? And if you're working with Commissioner Lesniak, the two of you?
Yes, I'm sending out emails. There's a couple of artists that are picked a date. I'm still waiting to hear back from a few other artists, but unfortunately, I've have artists saying that it's not economically feasible. Having that art kit fee made it because of the pandemic. A lot of the artists are struggling. I know for us, I mean, if this is your mode of income, like $500 should be fine, but like some people, they're really struggling, and we're getting artists that are really struggling. So I know that we voted it on before, but I still feel very passionate about it, and I still want to go on record saying so.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I get that, but because it's probably changed a little bit, but the last figure I had from the 26K that was approved by City Council for the boxes at $500 per, we had spent, or we had a balance of 18,700, so enough for about 37 boxes. You probably have billed a couple more from this. So roughly how many boxes do you have artists lined up to do in the next couple of months?
Only 3, because artists are backing out because it's not economically feasible for them.
All right, then should we do a new call for artists on our website?
Yeah, that would be nice. Because there's different legs of the maps, and we were supposed to continue the call out for artists, and I was trying to do that. So I would love your help and assistance for Matthew and I to get with you to figure out how that needs to transpire, because the rules, I want to be clear on how we can go about getting stuff out.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because I don't believe I've asked this before. Maybe I have. I apologize if I did. Because the artwork on these, and I've said this to Shonda, the artwork on these are really absolutely beautiful. Some of them are just exquisite. And I was asking, instead of just one, and maybe this is already happening, instead of one artist just doing one box, could we have that same artist do the same design on another box, but in a way different location? Therefore, they're getting $1,000 instead of $500.
But the thing is the artist's time is the issue. That that particular artist that did that beautiful work, because they knew they thought it was going to be $750. It was $7 before in the past. Oh, because of COVID, because of the hardships. I don't know how it got through, but it got through that approval. And artists and we saw that need there because of the pandemic, and that need is still artists are struggling. So, I mean, it makes a world of a difference, because that artist it cost him to paint that box at that location.
Okay, but right now, moving forward, we have to adhere to what City Council has approved for us, and we've got this budget approved, so.
I get it. I'm an artist. I'm fighting for the artists. I'm spread you guys, I won't get off the soapbox. Just so get to it. I'm gonna keep on at it.
All right. So we'll get together with Jay and perhaps Vice Chair Armstrong to figure out, because we still have this dangling thing about our website and access and who can control it, but we'll make sure we do another call for artists to encourage participation from local artists, simple but dynamic designs, which they can do in a cost-effective manner, where $500 is an agreeable amount of money for that.
Thank you, Russell.
All right.
Russell, can I make a request? Perhaps you could do a little mini interview with the Palm Springs Post and say that we're looking for artists in other parts of the country or the city to participate in this program. Let's not assume that all people that are capable of doing this are professional artists. And they may be people who read the Post and love their neighborhood, and they may say, "Yeah, let's do this," and we can do it for
certainly.
$100.
And I could also reach out to my new favorite Desert Sun reporter, Janet Wilson, to see if she would do a little.
Yeah, let's engage the community.
Yep.
You know, I think this is a great program. It's in a lot of ways, it's a minor program in terms of the money behind it. And I think we have every one of the 5 of us have really big ideas, and we're spending a lot of time on a small program when I know you and Shonda and Matthew and Barrett and I would like to be doing big things as well.
Right. We've got to find that balance, but it's an exciting little project because when you drive by a very cool utility box, they're terrific. So
I just have one other comment before moving on, and I know we're running out of time. Regarding the call for artists, just let's clarify who they're going to be communicating with or contacting so that that's clear. So it's not like 4 different people.
well, I would like to, if I may, Matthew, because you have been dialoguing with Shonda on this. If Shonda and you agree, then I'd like both of you to be the contacts.
That's fine with me. Shonda, we can talk about it, but that's fine with me.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and because 2 commissioners are supposed to be on this project to begin with.
Yeah.
What the clarity I want to make sure moving on, because I've had problems with this box, even though it's a small project with a very big heart and it's making a big impact throughout the city. And we do want to get more people involved with it. That's why the call went out as on the website that the public could vote on which artists that they wanted. So I think getting the public's engagement as much as possible behind the next set of boxes, and also accepting artists that had already applied, but because of the bureaucracy didn't get in, like open the door for people. And with what Commissioner Armstrong said, if they're not a professional artist, then that also needs to be clarified in the post, that we are giving opportunities to people that normally don't have this kind of opportunity to paint.
Right. Very good. Okay, we'll move forward with that and publicize it as much as we can, wherever we can, and we'll get together with Jay and figuring out the call on the website. All right, moving on to item number 2, Francis Stephen Park, Commissioner Armstrong.
Yeah, and I spoke at the Human Rights Commission meeting last week, I believe, and took them through some of our concepts of what we're doing that we will address with the Talkwist Media and Art Installation and this Francis Stevens Wall. And one of the issues that I mentioned we are considering is doing some sort of visual installation in Francis Stevens Park, which will enable. And again, I've talked about this in the past, but we really have identified 3 types of social issues. One are evergreen, things like climate change or women's rights or marriage equality. Those are things that really need a substantial piece of messaging behind them. And then the other 2 would be something that would be seasonal, maybe it's Autism Awareness Month or Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and then others that are reactive to the real world, much like the George Floyd mural was, things that we need to get a message out there immediately. So what my intent is to come up with some sort of installation that will enable us to get messaging out there immediately. So we're not running around looking for a building that we can do some sort of messaging on. We don't want to do it as a street mural. If it's an important message, we don't want cars driving over it. So that's the intent. And as I said at the meeting, the Human Rights Commission, they thought everything was great. They love the concept. They think that they want to work together with us in a lot of different ways. So that's as far as I've got. But I'm considering and conceiving different ways of getting this installation in Francis Stevens Park. And that's all I have to say at the moment.
Thank you. And any comments that commissioners come up with after the meeting, they can certainly send it to Jay, to send it out to Gary for food for thought. And we'll certainly talk more about it as well. Right, item 3, art mapping, Commissioner Newkirk. Do you have anything you want to report?
Thank you. Just quickly, last month I shared some information about Story, the service that would allow us to create an app for creating art walks and art maps for the city. I've been in contact with a representative there who is available to do a short demonstration / Q&A with some of us. So I wanted to see if another commissioner was open to joining me on that. It's Russell, you indicated you might be available. But we can just schedule it through their website. They do it in 30-minute increments. I was hoping to maybe do it next week someday. So if one other person is up for that, let me know.
Do I hear a Commissioner Lesniak volunteering?
Actually, I in backup, I would like to say yes, I'm volunteering.
Good. Thank you.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I think you would be a dynamic pair for this, so thank you.
Okay, Matthew, I'll reach out to you about your availability.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then based on how that goes, you can let me know if you want it to be more of a formal presentation to the rest of us in November, or how you wish to proceed.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
And
Thanks.
just to clarify, it's going to be on Zoom, right?
I think so. He says the conferencing details will be provided once we set the
Okay.
date, the time. So
Okay, we'll talk.
Great. All right, moving on to item 4, Talkwitz Media and Art Installations, Commissioner Armstrong and Lesniak.
Matthew and I had a meeting on this, and a little bird spoke to the desert sun about the concept. And I also addressed this concept and went into further detail with the Human Rights Commission, and they got it immediately and they thought it was great. They want to, be involved. Jay obviously was in the meeting and he saw the heads all nodding. I told them about the 6 words we were working with and let them know the words were not final. They would probably change, and that we were unsure if it would be a graphic representation of the word or a figural representation or a combination of the two. But that was direction where we were heading. And the idea was these would represent what Palm Springs stands for. And it would let people know when they came into Palm Springs, what they could expect from the city. And it would remind them when they left Palm Springs, what they just experienced.
Very good. And I will add that for anyone who didn't listen to the City Council meeting, this was also brought up, that with the art pads on the Talkwitz median, because clearly the City Council knows that the horses are leaving. I'm pretty sure it's the end of March 2023, because we were anticipating the pads being vacated. So to perhaps give consideration to Desert X23 as sites, but now we're going to claim them. So Jay, refresh my memory, we have indeed voted on a budget of $25,000 per pad. Didn't we do that in the board? Haven't we done that yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
I would ask that Matthew and I need to have one more meeting, and then we'll put together a proposal to vote on things for November.
November. All right.
And I think that we'll have more detail at that point. And I'm reminded this, I want to address something at the end of the commissioners' reports involving this that I think is important for the other commissioners to hear.
All right, so we'll look forward to a more detailed sort of proposal thing for November. All right, item 5, general commissioner reports or comments. Anyone?
Oh, I'll go.
All right.
I just came from the Arts Commission or the Airport Commission.
Oh,
meeting.
that's right. That's we need a report, of course.
Yeah, that's where I was. They voted to accept inertia. They all love it and they think it's great. They all love the piece of that was donated. They're unsure about the location we suggested, and they asked that we meet with the airport staff and walk the entire airport with them. And then they will put it on their next meeting to accept it once they have they like the location that we suggested, Russell. They just weren't sure if it was the best one, and they wanted us to walk the entire airport with the head of operations.
So that would be inside the
Correct.
secured areas as well.
Correct.
All right.
Now, the good news is every one of the commissioners, and they have a lot of them. They have 20 commissioners, and the city attorney was there, Every one of them thanked me for coming. They want to work a lot with the Arts Commission. They identified other areas that they felt they wanted public art. One is they asked for a mural inside at the check-in area. They said there's no color there whatsoever. They know that it's a tight space, so they cannot do any piece of physical art, but they thought some sort of big mural back there would be of interest. So that I'm going to sort of put that down until we meet with the operations person. They felt that there was a lot of pieces outside that could handle some artwork, particularly as they move to more of a desert-friendly landscape and get rid of the grass.
Oh, great.
So I'm not saying we want to move the cubes there, but if we had a bigger piece like wow, it could have stand there well. And I want to, one last point I want to make about the airport is when Russell and I were there the other day looking at locations, I think that the benches and the garbage cans that are there are probably the most successful ones that I've seen. Every one of them is uniquely Palm Springs. Every one of them is different looking. And yet everyone has a consistent palette and style that they all work together. So there's a cohesiveness, but they each have a unique identity. You know, there's one where the garbage can is painted like a piece of luggage. And then there's these really interesting graphic treatments of mid-century style and other interesting people. So I applaud the team that did that overall piece. There's probably a dozen of them that are painted in the collection. I think they look really solid.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We had a very good selection of artists for that.
Yeah.
That grouping of benches.
I asked the commission to give us at least 2 commissioners from their commission, and then we could work on walking the entire airport and grants and identifying locations that we could work towards some pieces of public art internally and externally.
Right.
So they're quite interested. Now, the one last point that they did make is 3 of them mentioned the San Francisco airport. And what they like about the San Francisco airport is it rotates its collection. And they said in big and small pieces. So they asked us to consider that as well.
All right, you may have been away for my chair remarks.
Yes.
So established, hopefully you and I will meet with Adam Lerner and another museum staff person on Monday, October the 31st. Jay is going to set up the meeting so we can look at the collection there and review all of what is there and what the museum might have to offer up for us to change out some pieces.
Yeah.
So that wheel has been put in motion.
It was very welcome arms there by the airport commission.
Oh, good. Awesome.
Mr. Chair, Christina over at the airport is trying to make arrangements with a staff person because if you don't have a ticket or a badge, you have to be escorted by an airport staff person that does have one. So she's trying to find someone who can do that.
Okay, yeah, because Tyson, Knight and I, when we were doing the airport benches, did make that arrangement and somebody escorted us through security and that. So yeah, once we have that in place, that's awesome. Okay, other commissioners? Anyone have anything?
Yes, I have a question about the George Floyd mural and the location and what we're doing about that, and it needs to be rectified. Because our good intentions of it being a positive thing, I mean, we got national acclaim about it and everything, and now it's looking the way it is.
All right, well, a little refresh on the memory, and certainly I think all of our new commissioners were probably not on the commission when this was discussed. Because I tried to have a proposal to allocate funds to move the mural. We voted not to allocate the funds. And in a particular meeting, which is probably a year plus ago, Cindy was in the meeting and suggested that we be in contact with the property owner, which I am, that when they are prepared to remove the plywood panels off the front of their building, then a city staff person, public works staff person would take them to City Yard for storage. So this is something that we would need to readdress, because right now that's the vote wasn't to do anything with them other than to store them when the property owner is ready to do work on the building. And I will reach out to Nick Wolin this week and find out what's going on, because it seems like nothing is going on, because that's what happens with projects. They sit idle for such a long period of time. But Shonda, if you want to come up with a proposal that we request the panels off the building sooner rather than later, and a plan for them and a budget, we're most certainly willing to hear that.
Oh, Russell, I think that's your job to do. I mean, seriously, because it was put up with, and you went and you got the public recognition nationally and stuff, and it's something that you have to clean up. Especially being
Not-
chair now.
Okay, excuse me, but it's not a matter of cleaning something up. We voted on a meeting, I had a proposal that we were going.
I understand that, but as a
Let me finish.
commission,
Let me
it's.
finish. Let me
Go ahead.
finish. I had a proposal to move them, and it got voted down in a commission meeting, and you would have to go back to the records, because I don't know what meeting it was in. And if it's an issue for it, I will readdress it with the property owner and find out what it is. Viable options, I'm willing to consider something, but it's the previous meeting, as I said, it was voted down, and Cindy Carnes said we should put them in storage.
Can we address this in November, put it on the agenda for November? Because I can come up with a few suggestions also.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the property owner and find out what's going on and see if we can claim the plywood panels, because part of it is painted on its building. If we could claim the pieces that are just on the panel, then we could take them to the city yard and assess what condition they're in, engage Mr. Alex, who is the artist, to have a look at them to determine how we could replicate the mural using these panels, or replicate the mural itself somewhere else, and come up with a plan. So yeah, we can put this on the calendar item or agenda item for November.
Thank
Okay.
you. It needs to be addressed because it's causing, element in that area that's not in tune with what we're trying to do as a commission. We're trying to beautify and help and make the city a better place. And right now it's not doing and serving its purpose.
Well, yeah, and the unfortunate thing with this, the property owner that does have at some stage of planning to work on his building and turn it into a marijuana dispensary, as soon as permits are put in place and the planning department and the city requires the property owner to fence the property. And that's when it became derelict and a mess. So that's something we have no control of. But yeah, we'll give this some thought, and we'll come up with a plan and discussion for November. Any other comments from commissioners? Armstrong?
You're muted.
Sorry, as we voted on moving the climate pieces, and we have a overwhelmed city staff, and we have an overwhelmed and burdened city council, in an effort to make things as clear as possible with the movement of the pieces. I wrote up a statement on behalf of the Arts Commission, which I ran by Russell. And what I did is it was modeled on the idea of, in the media world, it was an agency brief, really. It was an agency brief explaining all of your rationale and what you're doing. And you want to ensure that you have every question answered, not only strategically, but tactically. And so that's how I structured it. It was really something that theoretically, anybody who had a question could get it from that document. And it was a document that was about 1.5 pages long. It was distilled and very short and to the point. Wrote it up. Russell reviewed it, made one tiny change. We gave it to Jay. Jay said, "This is great. This is what we need." He attached it to the city staff report. It then got picked up by Palm Springs Post with a lot of great quotes in there that positioned us in a positive way. But Russell and I were talking, and we think for projects leaving the commission, we need to do that sort of thing each time, just so that we not only are educating city staff on our discussions, but hopefully we're preemptively blunting any complaints or concerns or criticisms from city council, and we can get things approved as quickly as possible. So as I said, what I tried to do is I was going through it saying, okay, what will Dennis Woods ask about? What will Lisa Middleton ask about? And tried to get every one of those things answered in that document. And we did it very successfully. So I think that, as I said, let's try and use that model moving forward when we have complicated projects that need approval.
Well said. Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, next item is itemized reports from director/staff. Number 1, webpage.
Hello, everyone. Apparently, the state of California has a requirement that web pages of government agencies are recorded and on a daily basis can be have public record acts requested on them. And so every change to the website needs to be recorded and essentially discoverable. And so we were made aware of this a couple weeks ago. So in looking at the public arts webpage, it was determined that the public arts webpage was not in compliance with that requirement. So what we'd like to do with that page is bring it into an email, a URL that is city owned and controlled, because just a little background, the PS Public Arts webpage, I think, was created by a former commissioner, and we don't have control over it. So
We're not hosting it.
right, definitely not hosting it. So what we'd like to do is pull the elements we like from that and put it on a similar web page. I forget what the platform is called, but I think the city can also do a similar platform. It would just have to be consistent with the Public Records Act requirements that I mentioned earlier. And then also, of course, bringing it in-house will be in-house maintenance of it, but we think we have the tools and the ability to do so. But as you're all talking about another call for artists, I think I'll have to work with you to find out what the needs are on a call for artists and to see how we can make that work with the planning for a new website, particularly when you said the public can vote and choose the artist. So we have systems currently that can go out and request proposals and bids from anyone, but the feature where it's made available to the public to vote is something we'd also have to try and incorporate. So I just want to give you a heads up on that we're going to have to address this with the website and the Gmail address that I think it goes to. I don't know if anyone knows who owns that Gmail address. So that's also going to have to go away, and we'll reestablish something that comes in here to the city. So just a heads up on those coming changes, and of course I'll give you updates and work with probably a couple of you to try and get everything done as smooth as possible. Looks like Shonda has a question.
Yes, Jay. In the revamping of this website, are we scrubbing everything from the old website, taking different elements and redoing a brand new site, newer, better, where the commissioners will get glamour shots and they'll be put up there as well and all that good stuff? Like, what are we talking with the website? Is it going to follow the template it already has, or is it changing altogether? Because the stuff that I have on there, I'd really like it all down.
You know, I think it'll be similar to what we currently have. The images, one thing was noted for us that we should check and make sure we have permissions to post all the images we have. And so Commissioner Favo, if there's something you'd like to have removed, we would gladly comply. I mean, at this point, we don't own that website, but when we essentially take the elements of it and you know, we'll be sure to get approvals from all the owners of the images.
And Jay, what sort of timeline do you think this will have?
I think it's gonna take a while. And because essentially, we don't have any staff allocated to this. This was our meeting with the IT staff who let us know what the rules were, but we're also going to hit them up for some resources to see if they can't help make this switch. And I think they can, because they had some ideas for us on pretty much pulling the same information onto a similar duplicate page, but just controlled and owned by the city.
All right, well, I guess if you just keep Gary and I informed on that process, then we can.
Right. Barrett looks like he has a comment.
Yeah, two quick questions. So I just wanted to check, Jay, do you know if that same law applies to other digital platforms? Say like an app that we might want to create?
If it's city, it may. So that's a good consideration on the app. There's a website and there's an app, right? And the app is just a little different from that. So I'll have to check into that, Barrett.
Okay. And then did I hear correctly that we don't have access to that Gmail? What is it? PS Public Arts, Palm Springs Public Arts at Gmail?
We all sat in a meeting and looked at each other and didn't know who had access. That's our director of communications, our city manager's office, our IT, and myself.
Okay, I believe Tracy did.
Okay,
Time.
that's good to know. Thank
That
you.
was my understanding, because like we were using that email to promote the grants program, and my understanding was that she had access to that.
Well, it may also have, there might be another former commissioner that might have access to it.
Okay.
And I'll ask that question of the former commissioner.
Right. Either way, it would probably have to be changed to a city email in that sense. So.
Okay. Right. Gary?
Jay, so how does this affect, because we have a pretty engaged Instagram account and a pretty engaged Facebook account. How does this affect that?
It's pretty much the same. We don't control the Instagram or Facebook. And if it becomes city Instagram or Facebook, I think those are compliant because the city has its own Facebook. So unless we just haven't looked that far yet, that's a very good question.
Could you do me a favor and check with the IT and legal people? And perhaps there's a way, if we're just posting, if we're cross-posting content that started on the city arts page and we're posting that to Facebook and posting that to Instagram, it may be compliant if it's duplicated content.
I'll check, sure.
And is there a way for the stuff that we post on those sites to link to that city website? Like, I mean, with those sites, they always have the little buttons at the bottom. So is that something that will be incorporated in a link, I'm sure?
Yes. I mean, I'm saying that because, as you know, the city has its own version of the public arts webpage, which is probably more in need of update than the PS Public Art webpage. And ideally, Commissioner Favreau, it would be one webpage. So if it's under the city's domain and owned, it'd be great if you go to the City of Palm Springs website, you click on Public Arts, and then you get this newer, better looking webpage that includes the best of both worlds. So.
So Jay, can I just ask then, when you do have any conversations, if you can keep Barrett and myself in the loop, and then we'll be your point of contact with that, because we're attempting to get a handle on it.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that update, Jay. All right. Anyone else have anything? It's for 3 minutes. It's time for adjournment if no one has anything.
I just have one more thing. I just want to wish thank all my commissioners for working so hard on all the stuff that you've done. I really want to move forward with us like spreading more good vibes in the city and getting more art out there. So when people are walking around, we're putting smiles and happy, joyful love in people's hearts. So I just want to go on record. Peace and love, man. Peace and love.
Peace and love, people.
And I want to end and thank Matthew publicly for all of his behind the scenes efforts in dealing with the John Clement pieces and his Photoshop mastery, which took him a long time, but it helped illustrate it. And as I said, I was very pleased when I found out it was a unanimous vote from council. And as I said, these projects take a lot of behind the scenes work. And thank you, Jay, and the state staff who did the city staff report. It was a really solid report. I hope everybody read it. And yet I agree with Shonda. We want to do beautiful things, but we want to do them correctly. And we want to ensure that everything happens. So thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
All right, on that note, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our regular meeting on November 16th, 2022. Actually, I want to interrupt myself with one question. To Jay, sorry. Any thoughts on us getting back to being in person anytime soon? Now that so many public meetings are happening in person?
I did put the question out, Mr. Chair, and didn't get a definitive answer yet. My next stop is going to be the city clerk's office. I basically, because our commission meetings need to be recorded. So we need to have a room facility that could accommodate both in person and Zoom,
Right.
and be recorded. And I think the only room we have that does that is the council chambers right now. And it requires IT staff to be involved in a room handling the recording. So let me get back with you and the group when I hear back from the city clerk on plans for getting into in-person.
Oh, we would be content with meeting in council chambers. All right, we'll have to fight over the seat. So anyway, adjourning this regular meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our regular meeting, November 16th, 2022 at 5:30 via teleconference. Second,
Second.
all in
Thank
favor?
you.
Aye.
All right.
Aye and goodbye.
Good night,
Thanks.
everyone.